Welcome to Team Perry's Step Out of Line podcast, featuring co-hosts Perry and Lori Finkelstein. Together, they explore, meet, and share inspirational stories with guests who have made a positive impact in today's world. This podcast resonates with our hope to make this world a better place one step at a time through love, acceptance, and uplifting conversations.
One of the things that we, love to be able to do at FabFitFun is we also get to feature so many amazing, female founders, female-founded brands. And so it's an exciting month for us as well. But, I think, so as far as the way that things got started, it's kind of like a bit of a unique history. My background is in content. I was a writer, a freelance writer, for about 10 years before starting FabFitFun with my co-founders, Mikey and Dan. I'm going to date myself a little bit, but, back then, the world of media was very much ruled by glossy magazines that really promoted a pretty narrow definition of beauty. Mm-hmm. As a Puerto Rican Jewish girl from the San Fernando Valley that was a little bit chubby with a lot of curly hair, who didn't fit like she fit those sort of stereotypes, but still loved everything about beauty and fashion and fitness. We wanted to create a website that was more like your best friend giving you tips and tricks to a great life. We ran it as a media brand for about 3 years. And, originally I thought that, that would be sort of what we did forever, that this was sort of the media game was hopefully the end game. And I think what's interesting is that, my sort of out of the box moment probably happened within FabFitFun. And we were a really tiny team, but, we were competing against, some pretty major, media organizations, and we were all kind of fighting for the same ad revenue, and realized that it wasn't where we saw the future of FabFitFun. And we needed some other kind of revenue model in order to make it work. And we really liked the idea of subscription. And there were a few beauty sample boxes that were really popular. And, I loved the idea of it, right? Like as an editor, I loved getting products in the mail. I loved trying new things, but I'm also really cheap. So the idea of paying for samples that you could go get for free at Sephora just like didn't make a ton of sense, mm-hmm. At least to me. And, not to mention that, I really believe that, while beauty is something that I love, women are, multifaceted beings with lots of different interests beyond beauty. And, we had wanted to sort of bring a box that was much more in line with the website. So really focusing not just on beauty, but fashion and fitness and wellness and home and tech and everything that, really makes women feel good. And we launched the box as a test, and I wasn't really sure what was going to happen. I think my two co-founders were more confident that it was going to be successful. But very, very much to my, sort of happiness, we sold out of that first box in 24 hours. And I think it wasn't crazy to think like, okay, we sort of established ourselves as authorities in beauty, fashion, and fitness. So it wasn't that weird to say, we're not just going to write about these products, we're going to give them to you now, which really did help in those early days. But the pivot was suddenly, we now needed products for every season. Someone had to actually go find them. And, I had been pretty, I had sort of helped to source that first box through a lot of the PR context that I had as a writer or as a journalist. But really it became a completely new job. And, as someone who really thought of herself as a creative, things like negotiations, terms, COGS, these were things that I just had no idea what it meant, trying to source things that were coming from overseas. What do you do when something comes with mold on it. These were all real things that happened in those first years. And I was very much learning as I went. And it was really scary because, I think a lot of us just sort of naturally box ourselves into what we think that we're good at and what we think we can do and what we think we can't do. And this was not something that I had envisioned myself doing. But, the opportunity to learn an entirely new skill set in my early 30s was pretty spectacular. And, my drive, I guess my passion to, not really sell stuff, but really bring these products to life to try and create a little bit of happiness and well-being in our members' lives. That was really fun. And you could feel it. We sort of felt it from that very first box. And, that's been a huge change for me. And I don't have an MBA. I wasn't formally trained, in business by any means. But I've been sort of passionate about our mission from the very beginning. And while, I definitely made mistakes, and learned on the job, and had to sort of, I don't know, go through a lot of sort of crazy things over the past years, I feel so grateful for the journey that I've been on over these past 10 years.
It's incredible to hear your story. Perry and I were just trying to describe ourselves in 3 words. And what did you pick for yourself?
Stress, exhausted, and in pain.
Right, stress, exhausted, and pain. And then because we've been quarantined since March, and I wrote it down because I can't even remember. I wrote cranky, tired, and a little schlumpy. So FabFitFun. Perry just got a box for the first time she joined the annual membership, and you really feel it when the box comes. All of a sudden you do feel FabFitFun. It's not just a name. Like, she opened it up. She loves getting things. She loves getting things like at a good price and the excitement of it. And I think now, especially because we have been quarantining because Perry is medically fragile for a year, we just needed something exciting, something brought to us, because obviously we're not going shopping, we're not in the malls, we're not at Sephora anymore, we can't do that. And I can't see a time in the near future where we are going to do that. So to have something come to us that she handpicked certain items and we're so excited about, and then to join the community online and discuss products with people and trade with people, she couldn't wear this mask, you want it, and I'll take this. She's having the best time, and it's like her, she's working hard in school and doing papers and studying. And this is like her time where she just like lets herself be, Perry, and she doesn't have to be a brainiac, and she could just have fun and be happy. So I think whether you intended to or not, more so this year than any other, I think your business, I'm sure it must have quadrupled this past year because of the pandemic, but there's such a need for it, I think, to lift people's spirits up.
It makes me all feel special.
Right. It makes Perry feel special. She's wearing one of your beautiful scarves that just came out as a little headband. She's done all her makeup and everything, and she just feels pretty. I mean, we're home. We're still wearing sweatpants on the bottom, but on top, she's having a whole party. So it's awesome.
I love that. And I mean, that's literally the reason that makes the sort of, team wake up. It's what we're passionate about. And I think, there's all of this sort of scientific research that links trying new things with happiness. And so whether it is, a scarf that just makes you feel put together, or a new lipstick, or, if you have like a DIY kit, like the herb garden or some sort of cooking kit, these are things that are small, but they are impactful in our lives. And yes, certainly when we're quarantined, having that sort of little bit of joy at home, I think is, more important now than ever. And I mean, it's one of those things that I think specifically for women, we're really good at taking care of other people. Sometimes we're not as good at taking care of ourselves. And the hope is that, while it's small, like the box is like an easy, effective way to bring back that self-care into our lives. Right. I think it's certainly something that we all need. I know, that I have not been the best at my own self-care over the past 10 years. And, I feel like I have like intentionally thought, look, there's only so many things that we can all do in a day. Like I'm going to prioritize work and I'm going to prioritize my kids. And I had a lot of mom guilt because I was traveling a lot. I spoke at a lot of different conferences, a lot of stuff for sort of the brand partnership side of things. And, I was in the office all day. And when I wasn't in the office, I wanted to immediately come home to see them. And I understand, why that was the sort of last 7 or 8 years of my life. But it really did take a pandemic to make me see that, like, I have to take care of myself. And, because we were all home for so many months, wasn't traveling, the mom guilt started to dissipate. I started to take an hour for myself every day to, whether it was like just to take a walk, to do sort of like a little bit of kickboxing in my backyard. And I found that self-care, it's made me a better leader. It's made me a better mom. Like, I can't believe that, like, we don't just want to talk the talk, we want to walk the walk. And I think it's so important to find little ways that we really do put ourselves first. It just makes us better for everybody around us.
I know, but as like a woman, I find it so difficult to let myself do that because I'm always taking care of somebody, doing something, or I'm doing something for the family or for the house. It's very hard. And pandemic, I have less time than before. I'm like busier. I have a very hard time giving myself that hour. I just can't. I can't do it sometimes. It's very hard.
It's really hard. And I remember being on so many panels where I would hear these women, they were talking about their exercise routines or their sort of big culinary accomplishments. I'm like, how the heck do they do it? Like, I just don't know how they fit it into the day. And it's certainly not easy. I think one thing that's been helpful for me is, I like, historically, I'm not a very organized person. I don't like schedules. Like, I think of myself as a creative. But because, we're all so busy, I found that, like, I have to schedule everything into my calendar. And that includes, like, taking a bath sometimes, having a date night with my husband, taking a walk. And look, the reality is those things don't always happen. Life comes up and, there's going to be times when I just can't make it work. But I then reschedule those things to another point in my calendar so they just don't drop off completely, right? And I think that's been really helpful for me. And I put it on my calendar so that also the entire team can see what I'm doing. There's breaks where I have to check in with my kids because they're virtually learning. And this is life now, right? We shouldn't be ashamed of it, and like, we've all sort of gotten this weird peek into people's home lives. And I think we're all maybe a little bit more empathetic because we realize that we're people outside of the office that have many, many, many things going on at the same time. And I think we just have to be honest about it. It is really hard. We're never going to be perfect, but we're all sort of trying to do our best.
I agree. Perry, you had a couple of questions about products that they had, or
how you like find these companies that I want to connect with, how you get these corporations to say, yeah, I want to partner with your company for the add-ons or for the sale. Like, how do you do that?
Do they reach out to you, or do you have to reach out to the company saying, "Oh, we love your mascara, we must have it"?
So it's definitely a combination of both, and it's changed over the years. When we first launched, it was 8 products, the same 8 products that went out to everyone, no customization. I just picked something that I liked. And the idea was, like, look, most of the members were in my demo. They'd all come from the website. So if I liked it, chances were high, or at least hopes were high, that they would like them as well. As we got bigger, our membership has just become increasingly more diverse. And, we have members that are, 18 years old in San Diego and 65 years old in Kansas City. And chances are that those 2 women probably don't want all of the same products, but we have both of those women in our membership. So, we increasingly rely on both data science and consumer insights to make sure that, we're picking great products. So it starts out each season. We have a merch strategy team who puts together a deck that includes, trends that we think will be interesting to our members, ingredients that we want to feature, materials that we think are exciting. And then that arms the merchandising team to talk to different brands about products that we think make sense for that sort of curation. And that's all. And a lot of the times it is inbound. There's a lot of brands these days that reach out to us, but it's working with the brands to then sort of narrow down, okay, we think these are sort of the select few products that we think are going to be interesting. Then they sort of come back with all of those products. It goes into the hands of our consumer insights team, who surveys members to get a better sense of a Q score for a brand. And that's both awareness and likability, as well as a forecasted rating for every product. So then that goes back into the hands of the merchandising team. They start to narrow it down to the best sort of grouping of products. And it really is a little bit like a puzzle, making sure that we're hitting all the different categories of beauty and fashion and fitness and wellness and home and tech, but also including brands that are probably pretty well known, right? You could go into either like a Nordstrom's or a Bloomingdale's or a Sephora and find those products. That helps to sort of establish the value or retail of the box. And then we like to pair those with more sort of up and coming niche brands to create the surprise and delight and excitement every season. And we're thinking about things like innovation. Does it feel different? Does it feel unique? Thinking about utility, just making sure that like it's actually going to be something that people want to use, and the unexpected. I mean, that's always, I think, the fun part when you get something or you see something that you never really even knew that you wanted. Mm-hmm. And then we start to put together the choices, and we look at things like dislike overlap, so that we know that at least that the majority of members will like at least one of those products. And that's how we sort of think about the customization. And similarly, we do that for the sales as well. It's just a bigger set of products that come in.
What's your favorite product? Right. What's your favorite, or what's the top sold product?
So what's your favorite product that you had that you like?
Yeah.
So Perry, that is a tough question. It's like picking my favorite child.
I could pick my favorite child. It's not hard. No, it is.
But I will say one of my favorite products is the Unhide faux fur blanket that has been in two boxes. It's just super comforting, and like I love it. We have so many of them. My children steal them all the time, but I can never have too many.
Interestingly enough, Perry was telling me that a woman in Texas had written on the forum or the community page that it saved her recently. Am I correct?
Yeah.
Because of the terrible conditions that they were facing 2 weeks ago. And she had the FabFitFun blankets, and it saved her and her family because that was what was keeping them warm.
I mean, I love that. And I saw similar things in the community, just like, in Texas, you don't think that you're going to need a faux fur blanket most of the time, but that's so wonderful.
Yeah. So she heard that, and Perry's like, Ma, do you hear this? And I was like, yeah, this is, incredible.
Now we have to have one.
Right now, she's like, now I have to find one. You have to know your customer service online is phenomenal, because whenever Perry's had an issue or she was allergic to something, they respond very quickly. And she's constantly giving feedback and getting feedback from them. And that's like such a plus with your company, that the customer service is amazing.
And your social responsibility effort.
Right. Social responsibility effort and your philanthropy efforts is something Perry admires also, because when she was looking at companies and women that she wanted to meet and CEOs and contributions, she noticed, you hit that mark for sure. The fact that you also have that in your spirit and your heart is amazing. And Perry feels, akin to you, that is extremely important to her. So amazing work that you do.
Thank you. I mean, same to you. I was like, you guys have accomplished quite a bit, and we'll have to talk offline about how we can think about, incorporating the nonprofit into the FabFitFun world. I mean, for us, it's just finding causes that are near and dear to our members' hearts. And, we know that we have this sort of big spotlight that we get to shine on brands, but we sort of thought, well, if we could do it for brands, we can certainly do it for nonprofits as well. And so that's been, honestly, just a nice bonus. And thank you for the shout out to the customer service team. I will say probably the hardest job at FabFitFun, only because we're such a weird, unique business in that, members pay for something that they don't even know what they're getting.
Right.
And that level of trust is so high. And so our bar, it just has to go up and up and up. And, the CS team is so knowledgeable. We actually think about them kind of like at a talent agency. The mailroom is where many people start out who want to be agents, right? And in our CS team, there's been tons of really amazing cases of women, starting in CS and then joining the merchandising team or joining the engineering team. And so, for us, that's pretty important because they get to know our members better than anybody,
Right, and they have insight that you don't see, from your top level. They're dealing in the battlefields,
Exactly.
3 words that you're describing yourself with, not fab, fit, and fun. Pick 3 other words.
No, it's certainly not FabFitFun. And by the way, I have no doubt that you're going to be incredibly successful. And I hope that we can stay in touch so I can see you continue onto your journey, because nothing makes me happier than, supporting other female founders out in the world. All right. But 3 words to describe me. I will say creative, spontaneous, and tired.
As long as we're all tired.
Yeah.
But as long as you're still creative and spontaneous, that's all that matters.
Yeah. A little like spontaneity has sort of shifted its meaning in quarantine, but try and keep it up nonetheless.
Like, oh, let's have macaroni and cheese tonight.
Exactly. But maybe we'll spice it up. We'll put some bacon bits on top. That's
right.